Yo, what's up, guys? So today, I'm going to be just talking about my life while dismantling my TV mount. How have you guys been? Let me know. Let me know. Let me know. Let me know. I've been good. I've been thinking a lot about just the summer and how it's been, how school's about to start, how I'm moving into my new crib. Man, it's different. Lots of changes happening. I feel like a mixed bag. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of things that I'm looking forward to throughout this semester, but there are also a lot of things that I'm not necessarily looking forward to either. I feel like right now is one of the moments where I really don't miss school. School for me kind of feels like a limbo, you know? I feel like if I could just specialize in the things that I like, then I could already be in the career path that I want to do without having to do all the schooling stuff. I know what his purpose is. I know kind of why you need college. It's kind of just to assess whether you're able to just think and be capable, succeed at something. I get the concept, but to have to go through it is just, it sucks. It really sucks. And, that's just part of life. A lot of people go through it. People like me, people in college, it's just how it is. You go through school to get your job. Um, yeah, it's been hard. It's been hella hard. Maybe not necessarily school. I just mean this summer in general it's been interesting. I haven't really had a lot of rest. I feel like summer break is when you're meant to reset yourself and, be ready to attack the world with your newfound knowledge or just rest from the hard school year that you had. But for me, I've really just been on go mode, constantly going and going and going and going. In my previous video, I mentioned that I was doing a lot of stuff with business. And yeah, I just feel like I've been through like a whole bunch of different arcs throughout the summer. um, at first, I was just chilling for a little bit for about like 2 weeks or so, just at my job, working full time, being happy, making some bread and all that. And going into a few weeks into summer, starting my summer class, being a student. So just being a worker, working in an office to being a student. And then I briefly mentioned my time in Washington in my last video as well. I was a traveler for a little bit, got to see Washington, D.C. It was really cool to be close to the Capitol and all that. I think it was really interesting to just see all that stuff and see the things that I'd always talked about or always been talked about throughout like my childhood, just growing up in like middle school and stuff. There would be like, oh, like here's the Lincoln Memorial, the White House. For me to physically see it, I was just like, wow, like it's at least for the White House, I was like, I'm not impressed. Lincoln Memorial though was really cool. That was really cool. But yeah, going through those stages, being a little traveler, being a student, then coming home, trying to be a businessman for a little bit. I originally started off trying to do like some Shopify store, start up like my own, self-employed business and stuff for a few weeks, and straight into that, I met a few people that tried to introduce me into the business world, and just having like coffee chats with them, just it gave me a new pound found perspective, stuff that I touched on in the previous video, but stuff that's really important, you know. Um, yeah, I don't know. I feel lost, man. But aren't we all? A thought that I was having earlier at work was, I hate the fact that I'm human. What I mean by that is just, you know, I just have an unsatiable hunger that can't be quelled. And all of us have that constant need for more, 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 you know? If we constantly have that need to want more and do more for ourselves, then we can never be satisfied. And if we can never be satisfied, do you think we could ever truly be happy? And the question is, I don't think we can. You know, if you truly have this hunger that cannot be stopped at any possible point, I think it's impossible to truly be happy. I think you can feel happiness, but to truly be in the essence of happy, like the feeling of happiness and keep it, I think it's impossible for us. But it has its ups and downs because that constant need for wanting and just doing more, it makes us more successful than any other animal species. Um, so yeah, in that aspect, I really do wish I wasn't human. You know, I wish I could just be happy with what I have instead of just constantly needing more and more and more and more and more. That to me sucks. I think the only thing. Oh. Oh my god. Let me disconnect this. All right. Stage two. What I was gonna say is the only thing that I feel like kind of stumbles us and keeps us away from the thought of like just constantly needing more and wanting more is love. It truly is a drug. It really is a drug because it keeps us in a state of just awe in a person, in a just in emotion. I feel like through my experiences with love, I just feel so encapsulated with it that I almost can't function. It, especially in those first few stages where it's so stimulating because you just never had it, or it's just so different. It's so stimulating that it almost stuns you for a second, and you take a second, and you're like, "Wow." You're just in utter beauty and awe of a person and their personality. You're so interested. You want to learn more and do more with this person. Yeah, it's love, man. It's powerful. All those rappers that really say that love is a drug is true. It's really true. And I can't blame them because they're just people just like us, and they go through the same experiences that we do. I was listening to this guy that he was basically just talking about like how like a lot of like teenagers go through that one like phase of their life where something like traumatic happens to them, and I was like, that's so like true. That's like so real. I was watching like this Rich Brian's uh, reaction because he just came out with that album. It's really good. You should check it out if you have the time. It's really different. It incorporates a lot of alternative with rap, also R&B aspects. It's really good. Check it out. But yeah, like I just thought it was so funny because it kind of just puts in perspective that all of us are really just we kind of all go through the same things, just slightly differently. And yeah, when he brought up that fact of just everybody goes through that phase of like where they're hurt, and he gives his example, and I'm like, wow, like me too, you know. Through my past relationship, I had been scarred too, and I was very young, and I'm like, wow, like this is all like we all go through this for real. I was like in show shocked in a sense, you know. I've been so busy, bro. I just want a break, you know? But I too have a hunger that can't be quelled. Something that makes me want to keep going and keep striving, keep wanting to do better, bigger. I was explaining this with like my why in the previous video, but just like, you know, if I truly want to create a lifestyle that where I'm free in a sense, I have to do more than the average person. And part of that is just taking those extra steps and tiring myself where other people will choose not to, you know? And I'm doing that now, you know? I'm truly grateful for what I've been able to accomplish and what I've been able to achieve. And I touched on this last video too, but you know, I truly am grateful for everybody, for anything that has happened throughout my life. It's just really nice to see that, you know, it's all been a benefit to me at the end of the day, even when at first I hated the circumstances. I'm very young, but I feel like I've lived a lot of life and know a lot about life, you know. But maybe that's just me being naive and thinking I'm better than other people, you know. I don't try to inherently push that onto people, but I feel like whenever you get to a certain level, you just it kind of just happens. What I like to say is like the more intelligent you are, the more susceptible you are to the world's harms. And I feel like I'm definitely at that intelligence level where I know of so many bad things that can happen to me. And, you know, that it constantly runs rampant in my mind that, hey, like something could happen to me, or, you know, I could die in these random ways, you know. It might not be making sense, but the true message that I'm trying to say right now is I feel like being a genius or being smart is a double-edged sword, you know, because you're more intelligent because you're more you can easily comprehend a lot of more harder subjects. However, you also know the bad that you can do with the knowledge that you have. And a lot of people don't know how to control themselves with that knowledge. Some people end up becoming crazy and just spewing out random, I guess not necessarily nonsense, but just random hate and rebelling against the world. Or it can be somebody that becomes numb to it, to where they don't even know what life itself is if they want to continue living, you know. They use that knowledge and they're like, well, if all of us are nothing, then why exist at all? And to that, I say most important thing about life and just being here in general is to create a purpose. Create a purpose for yourself. And that's really important because it's what keeps you going, keeps you wanting to just be alive. I was mentioning it in my last video. I don't know, I have an idea of what my why is, but when it comes to purpose, I continue to live because I know that there are people that need me and that I need in my life. And I don't want to let that go yet. But yeah, I just disassembled this TV mount. If you like this video, let me know. If you didn't, let me know too. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I'll see you.